Hello, Blake Rudis here with F64 Academy and F64Elite.com, and today I want to talk to you about continuous improvement. It's not exactly everyone's favorite topic. No one likes to hear, hey, you have room for improvement, all right? They only want to hear, oh, you've done such a great job with this. I like what you've done here. But sometimes it's really hard to hear the really hard stuff. You know, it's nice to post something on Facebook and Google Plus and have all your family and friends give you +1s and likes and Flickr hugs, but it's not what you need to grow. What you need is constructive criticism for continuous improvement. So one of the things I used to do on HDR Insider were critique sessions. And these critique sessions would be 10 images, about 3 to 5 minutes per image, and we would talk about what's working, what's not working, how it makes the viewer feel, whether it's artistic expression that's coming through or a technical flaw, or through your artistic expression you may have created technical flaws. These are really important things to understand as you're creating your images. So what I want to show you here is a snippet of what's to come. So on F64 Elite, we're going to be doing these critique sessions also. So take a look here. I've selected 2 of the images from the critique sessions from HDR Insider for you to take a look at and see if this F64 Elite transition with these types of constructive critiques would be the fit for you. So let's jump in and take a look at these. Now, first off, my initial impression of this photograph, the first thing I see is very extravagant. I do like it. It's difficult when you're in the woods to make a good composition. You really have to be there at the right time of day, which this individual was, especially for these bright yellow color leaves that are, looks like fall here. And it's not always the easiest thing to make a composition in the woods because there's a lot of chaos. You know, you got these vertical lines coming up all over the place and then just an explosion of leaves typically. So I really commend this person for making such a great composition from such a chaotic environment and such a chaotic atmosphere. So something definitely has to be said for that, especially because this does capture us and captivate our attention. There are a couple things that when I look at this, I could only really make recommendations from, say, an artistic expression type of viewpoint. You know, as it stands right now, I think the photograph is great, but there are a couple things that we could do to this to kind of take it to another level, so to speak. And one of them that I want to do is just increase some of the contrast in this foreground area. So if I were to just create a curves adjustment layer and just make this a little bit darker, just bring that down to make it darker, it's going to make everything dark overall. But of course, if we double click in here and go into our blend if options, we can then take away all of the white so that that's only happening in the darkest dark areas and slowly transitioning into the lightest light areas like we see here. So now that effect is only kind of happening on the darkest areas, the leaves in the trees in the foreground area, and I'd probably drop the opacity on this a slight bit. Another thing you could do to kind of bring this a little bit forward a little bit is to make a curves adjustment layer and make a selection for, say, these trees, because these birch trees are naturally pretty white. So if we increase the exposure on there a little bit by bringing that curve up a slight bit to make those trees white, we get the same concept here. It's making the whole thing brighter, obviously. But if we go in here, we go to our blend if options, we can now move this over so it's not affecting our darkest dark areas and slowly split and transition this by pressing Alt or Option and bring this down so it's not affecting our lightest light areas. It's only going into our mid-tone areas. And now that is only affecting basically our mid-tone areas. Again, it's pretty powerful, so we drop the opacity down there a little bit. So you can see it just adds a little bit of punch. It gives our midtones a little bit more white to them, and it gives our darks a little bit more darkness to them, just to add and create some more depth and atmosphere to this photograph. Now, these are typically your artistic expression types of things. So if, you know, the artist that did this doesn't like that, that's completely fine. Another thing that would be really cool for this too is to maybe get a hue saturation adjustment layer and then click on the targeted adjustment tool and maybe just bring up the saturation of those yellows a slight bit. And you know, you don't have to bring it up too much, maybe make them a little bit darker, add a little bit of black to that yellow so that they are a little bit more powerful on the yellow, so the yellow punches a little bit more. And you could even do that for the blues here too. You can maybe even bring up the saturation in the blues just to really further exploit the colors that are exploding all over the place. So not very big differences. I mean, these are very small, minute differences. Here's the before and here's the after. Just very small and minute things that can help the contrast push and pull the eye throughout what's already a great photograph. Boom! Yep, that's what you should be feeling when you see this. I just had to catch you off guard because that's what it did to me. I opened this up when the person sent it to me. I was like, holy cow. Look at this scene. It's like a sandwich, man. It's like the sandwich that you see from Scooby-Doo, you know, where they build up like the bread, and then between you got lettuce and tomato and everything you can think of between, and then, you know, Shaggy's eating this giant sandwich that's the size of his arm. That's how much layers of depth is in this. This is a Scooby-Doo sandwich of depth. This rocks. All the way from the very back here, navigating me through this canyon, all the way through this little lake right here, right to this little rock right where I'm standing. It's like, boom. And then not only that, all these lines are moving in the same pattern as that lake there, or whatever it is, the little ravine or stream. I don't know. I'm not very good at geography. It almost looks as if it carved all that. It probably did. That's usually how things happen in the real world over the course of millions of years. Again, I'm a photographer and artist. Don't get me. Don't quote me on geography stuff. But you get what I'm saying. This line work matches this line work. There's depth. There's angles. There's a nice dramatic weather happening there. A big storm happening back there, but we're safe right here. Although it doesn't look like we're safe because we have all these dynamic angles that are freaking us out, man. Anytime you have these types of dynamic angles, they really start to get into you and get you thinking, oh my goodness, there's something epic about to happen here. Epic proportion happening all over this photograph. And that's the way you should feel. That's the communication that this artist is having with me. I guarantee that this artist, while they were standing there on that cliff, was like, oh, this is going to communicate so well to the viewer. Check this out. And then they went all the way through it with the post-processing to make it look like this. Boom. That is awesome. I get amped up when I see pictures like this. You have to pardon me. So now that you know all the stuff that I think about it, what would I do to make it better? Well, I would actually put a blank layer on here, Shift F5, fill it with 50% gray, and change that to soft light. Okay, so that's basically setting us up for dodging and burning. This is a perfect example for dodging and burning. Anywhere where you see two areas coming together that create a really dark area, that's a good spot to burn. So right now I've got the dodge tool selected. I know that because if I paint on here, things start getting lighter. So I'll press Control Z. If I press and hold Alt and paint, now I can get right into this crack here and make that a little bit darker. Go to this one. I'm using a Wacom tablet, so it's pressure sensitive. And this one here, go through here. I mean, you see I'm starting to add depth to these crevices now. Maybe lighten up this one and then darken it right back here, but lighten it up right here. And start painting on these rocks. I mean, you have the option now to paint any depth you want on the sides of these rocks to start to scale them to the size that you probably saw, these craters and pits that you saw here. Maybe alter option back here and burn this stuff to make it a little bit darker in the back, and then go through this canyon here. Maybe lighten up the foreground a little bit so that our foot placement is right there, but darken this one up to give us a sense of three-dimensionality to the area that we're standing. And then if you even were to go up here, alter option, make it a little bit darker back here. Make those clouds really dramatic back there to burn that area out. You know, still burning back here. Maybe lightening up this side here. You know, burning down here within the river. Sculpting with light is what you're doing now as a photographer to create that sense of depth. Now this might be overly dramatic, but let's take a look. Let's go ahead and make a gradient map. Make that gradient map black and white. Okay. And look at the before. Look at the after. See the amount of depth that's happening. Now it might be a little too much. We could drop this down a little bit. We can see that when we put that in tone perspective, it's a little too much. So if we take that gradient map off now, it looks a lot better. But seeing things in tone usually helps. Look at the drama in this, even in black and white. My goodness. Let's go ahead and go into the curves adjustment layer. Maybe make things a little bit brighter. In black and white, it would look pretty good that way. But again, these are just artistic suggestions now, maybe not even in the realm of technical difficulty. I don't even think most of these are technical flaws. I just think that there's ways that you can tweak it. Even a gradient map set to luminosity sometimes can kind of do the same thing as dodging and burning. See that? Adds depth. Just take that gradient map, black and white, change it to luminosity, and it can do the same thing. Excellent work here from camera capture to completion, right on. And whoever you paid to get that kind of light and storm happening up there, I need to know who that is so that I can control them. Was it one of those X-Men? Was it Storm? Because if you've got her phone number, I want it. So now you've had a chance to see just one of the benefits of being a member at F64 Elite. There's a lot more benefits on F64 Elite to include community forum, courses, discounts. The list goes on and on. There's quite a bit. If you're interested in finding out more about F64 Elite, just click this link right here. If you're on the blog, just click the link that's right above here, and that will take you over to learning more about F64 Elite. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and remember, you always have room for continuous improvement. Again, my name is Blake Rudis. If you like this, please comment, share, send it to a friend, and sometimes you may have to tell that friend, hey, you have some room for improvement, and don't be afraid to do it, because they're just going to appreciate you more. Thanks again for watching, and have a great one.